opponent's troop, so that makes it actually interesting for constructed as a reserve card, because it basically if you play it against Rutherford, if they ever activate their ability, then you just play this and you take their cards, and they wasted their ability. So I think this will be constructed playable in that aspect, and in limited it's a 1 for 1/1 later in the game. But if you play the Knight's Bane Ovo, or whatever his name is, he can actually then revert that troop again towards what it was before. So for example, if you have the big bomb into your in your graveyard, you can pay 1 and put it into play, use the ability, and then have an, I don't know, 6/6 in play on turn 3. So I see possibilities with this card. What do you think, Charles?
I mean, you nailed it. This has 2 applications. One, it's the Reanimator type card, where late in the game you're getting a troop from your crypt into play, and then you're womboing it with some sort of other reversion effect and making this into a gigantic thing. The other thing is this is an anti-Reanimator strategy, where your opponent's trying to do something similar, and you hear after their troop before they can do something cool with it. Or more importantly, in response to, as a quick action. If you're playing this just as the 1/1 Phantom for quick, you're probably not getting your card out of it.
Yeah, you're not getting value even if it's quick. So you really need to get some big payouts. But it has the option as being a good reserves card with what we've seen so far, and we'll see more reason to bring this back from the reserves. And as a main deck card, if you are playing Ovo or something like that, then it becomes just a Reanimator for 1, and that's crazy.
So could this card mean that Ovo will be a constructed playable champion?
I don't think it's there yet.
It's far-fetched.
All right.
I think Cryptozoic has gone to very long lengths to make sure that some of the best Reanimator targets are not actually Reanimator targets. So I think that's kind of what keeps that from becoming a thing. So you can't walk in Calamity, you can't get a Shingami out and do something wombo on turn 2. So I think the nutty stuff is kind of prevented for now.
All right, fair enough.
And also, the Between Quote printed some very decent Crypt 8 in this set, so it becomes even harder to put an archetype around that.
Fair
Moving
enough.
on.
Oh,
Next
Charles.
we have a good one. This is the High Infinitrix. She is a 4-cost, double D, 0/1 Troop Necrotic Mage. Yes, she certainly is.
Double D. Nice.
And so the abilities: Shift 1 +1/+1 in Flight, Shift 1 +1/+1 in Steadfast, Shift 1 +1/+1 in Life Drains. So, in essence, even though this may read as an 0/1, when you play her, she will be a 3/4 Flight, Steadfast, Life Drain. And in addition to all that, when you play a Necrotic, you may revert this. This card is absolutely insane. Every line of text is something else awesome.
And
So
on top of that, she's not unique, which blows my mind.
It has to be on the very short list of best cards of the set.
Yeah.
This also has to be the chase card. This is your probably $20 day 1 opening card.
Yep.
Because my gosh, there are so many things. Even if you don't have a Necrotic to revert her, even if you don't have another troop to shift her onto, she's still fine stats. 3/4 Flight, Steadfast, Life Drain is something that very few aggressive decks ever want to see. And then suddenly, if you start doing all those additional things, being able to buff your other troops in weird ways. So if you want to give Flight over to one troop, Flight Steadfast to one troop, and Life Drain to another for whatever reason, you can do all these things. If you want to load up on one Spell Shielded troop, you can. And then if you play her in a Necrotic deck, suddenly she becomes her very own Anthem effect, where you can do this to every one of your Necrotics. I mean, this is absurd. Right?
Yeah, this is a standalone win condition. Standalone win condition in any deck that can play it. I mean...
So, serious question. Is this the card that pushes Diamond, Ruby aggro, and a Necrotic aggro into a tier 1 position. What do you think?
I think that that deck wants to really, attack fast and is very aggressive. I think that there are other cards that are pushing this into the top tier. Of course, this I think you will see her being played. I think the most, not necessarily in an aggressive deck, but certainly if you have a necrotic aggressive diamond, ruby deck with a lot of shift going around and deep gaze champion. God forbid you have deep gauge champion on the board when you play her.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
That deck has so many absurd targets for her as well as part of the thing. Like, you put this ability on a Quashred Tusker.
Yep.
That is a pretty stupid thing to do. You
Yeah.
put that on. I mean, Deep Gaze Champion, I think, is the one that everybody immediately goes to.
Flying Tusker. I mean,
Flying Tusker. Yeah, flying 3/4 base Tusker. Ugh.
Yeah, insanity.
Yeah, this card, Diamond Ruby aggro does not leave now, at least from the tier 2 consideration because of her.
Yep.
I think that deck just stays too good and too omnipresent.
So you're gonna buy your high infinite tricks on day 1? Try to get them cheap?
they will never be
How
cheap.
that works?
They will never be cheap. These
I
cards
don't think
will
that's
never
how
be
that
cheap.
works.
Well, on day 1 I've seen stranger things happen. But I think this card might be around the $15 mark on day 1. People putting it up, trying to make a quick buck, and you have to be fast to get it. But if you're on the auction house and you search for it and you snipe them, I think you might be lucky, because this card, I think it will only go up in value as time goes on. Alright, next
She's
card.
the boss of the set for sure.
Yeah, she's.
Let's move on to something
my
that
lady.
finally gets that payoff for that Diamond Wild champion we were talking about.
There we go. Philip, your card.
Mesa Totemist, so it's a 3-cost, 1 diamond threshold troop, Goyatal Cleric. It has Empower, it is a 1/4. When you gain health, this gain +3, and Swift Strike this turn. So, if in a standard deck, this would be a 1/4 for 3 or a 2/8 for 6, which is not very exciting. But if you have steady ways to gain health every turn, this becomes a 3/4 Swift Strike for 3, which is amazing. And we're not even talking about the empowered version. So in this dedicated deck, I think it will be a fantastic card. It will be one of the key cards of the deck. In other decks, I don't think so.
Yeah, agreed. And one thing I want to note is that because there are enough quick actions that gain health also in set 3, this is actually also a combat trick, so it's good to note that. And most likely you will catch some people unaware in the first week. So, next card, Midnight Spiritualist. It's a 5-cost 3/1, so those stats are horrible. But what does she do? She has flight, so that's good. And when this dies, create a phantom for each different threshold you have and put them into play. So the best possible thing that could happen is that she creates 5 1/1s when she dies, and the worst is 1. So seeing that, most likely you will be between 2 and 3. I think this will be fairly high pickable in both the flyer deck and also in the 5 shards deck, but besides that, I don't think this is super good. I think 5 cost 3/1 and then die, get 2 1/1s. Yeah, I don't think it's quite there, to be honest, especially not on uncommon. So I don't know.
I think this card is awesome for Limit. Like, I can't imagine not trying to first pick this thing.
Really?
Even just getting the 2 Phantoms, you're getting so much value, and it's so, even though she's a 3/1, it can be difficult to deal with flight troops. And suddenly, if you're getting 2 more of these Phantoms, that's a free force of the tomb, right?
I mean,
Now, if you get even
3/1
more of
is
this,
not that hard to deal with, right? In this set, I've seen a lot of flyers for now. I don't know.
we already seen 2 common cards in Diamond that gets you the threshold that you want. So I think that this will be the reason why you go into the prismatic deck. Or you will still play her in the Diamond Flight deck, since the Diamond Flight deck play diamonds, and there's a lot of ways to incidentally gain threshold.
I guess
There's
I
going to be
can
a lot
see
of times
that.
your opponent hopes she doesn't die,
Yeah,
and that's saying something for a troop whose
3/1
incidental
flyer.
effect
Yeah.
is just happening to make those phantoms.
Yep. I guess 3 flyers is most likely where you will end up, and 3 flyers 1/1 is pretty good. So yeah. Yep, you're
Yeah,
right.
this card's good. This card's really good.
So, guys, pick this up. Don't make the mistake I did, undervaluing it. Next one, Charles.
The Moon Warden. This one you may not have to take so high. This is a 1-cost single diamond for a 1/1. It is a troop Kyodal Mage. For Wild 1 and Exhausted, another target troop gets +1/+1 this turn. Or for Sapphire 1 and Exhausted, another target troop gets Flight this turn. And neither one of those are really that super impressive. So I think this card, definitely not constructed. Unlimited, it falls into a little bit of an issue with, is this worth a card? And I think there will be decks where sometimes that +1/+1 matters in certain matchups, and there certainly can be limited pools where you don't have enough flight troops for whatever reason, and you need in your DS flight deck to try and turn on some more flight troops. But for the most part, I don't think you're going to be super happy with the Moon Warden.
Alright. Next one, Pale Harvester. Philip.
So Pale Harvester is a 3-cost 1/1 threshold troop necrotic cleric with 1 forest stats. It has shift for 1 cost, and its shift power is 2 exhaust, gain health equal to this troop's attack. So in a vacuum, this is a power reusable gain health power, but it has a very high cost, and we've seen other more efficient cards that can provide the health gain every turn. So I don't see this as very high pick. If you're playing a deck with big troops at the end of the curve, then you can put that power into these troops and start gaining a significant amount of health. But overall, I don't think we'll see this being picked early in draft at all.
Nope. That's true. Will you put this ability on the 10/5 we saw earlier?
Nope, because I want to be attacking with a 10/5.
True. Gaining 10 is nice as well. Alright. Next one is the Pious Paladin, a 2/1 for 2 life drain Swift Strike. So I kind of like these kind of troops. Like Swift Strike is good, life drain is good, and it's your 2-drop. But the threshold is really making it hard to put this on to the board on turn 2. So I don't know. I kind of like this troop, especially because Life Drain and Swift Strike, those are 2 powerful abilities to have on one troop. But the double diamond will make it really hard to cast it in limited, and in constructed. It's just not good enough, I think. So I
What?
think
You're crazy.
What? This card is so good.
in constructed, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes, it is.
My goodness, those are 2 powerful keywords to put on a 2-drop,
Yeah,
especially combined.
I don't know. I think that then I would rather play the Deathless Guardian, which is Swift Strike and actually protects your team, rather than have a 2/1 that yeah, I don't know. This doesn't seem like this will see constructed play.
The thing is, the difference between the Deathless Guardian and the Pious Paladin is that Pious Paladin fits in when you want to have a strategy where you're playing your Rally of Kings, your Grace of Tianas, your High Infinitrix, where you're trying to go ahead and get a lot of buffs onto your troop. Because with Life Drain and Swift Strike already, she carries those buffs so well.
This card is going to see play in the White Weenie deck, and there's a lot of cards right now. We will get to them
Diminutive
later,
Diamond.
but yeah, Diminutive Diamond. There will be there will be William. There will be discard. There's a totem. We already have a few good troops with low cost and diamond. This deck will definitely exist in the meta in the near
You
future.
can read my article next Wednesday on the mothership, and there might be some diminutive diamond love on there.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Right.
I have no.
Well, I'm happy to be proven wrong because, as I said, I like the combination of those effects. I like them, and a 2/1 body for 2 is not the worst. But I think the double diamond for limited makes it really hard, and for constructed, I think she's just not there. But happy to be proven wrong, so we'll see how that goes.
I think, Kroan, this is your very weird call of the set.
We'll see. We'll see.
Next, we have the Prairie Trapper. It is a 5-cost double diamond 1/5 quick troop Coyote Rogue for uncommon, and when this enters play, void target attacking troop with attack equal to or less than the number of Coyote you control. And it's not other Coyote you control, so you at least can get rid of a 1-attack troop. Now the question is, how many 1 or other attacking troops are going to be coming at you that you care about? And the answer is probably not very many. So what you're looking for Prairie Trapper is, do I have a lot of Coyote in my limited deck already? And we've seen quite a few. So I think when you're talking about, can this void a troop with 3 attack, there's a number of Coyote in here that this is probably a very relevant ability. So if I'm voiding, say, a 3-attack flight troop and blocking something else on the ground with my 5-butt, I think Prairie Trapper's definitely got a place in limited.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's a good reason to start picking Coyotes.
Kind of. I don't think you want to just fill your deck with random Coyotes that wouldn't otherwise be in there.
No, but we've seen
still
enough.
Random.
We've seen enough good ones, like
Right.
the one with the gem at common and.
Right. There's enough other good Coyote that you'll probably have enough to turn on Prairie Trapper for something relevant. And when you're getting a 2-for-1, you're happy. You're always happy.
Yep.
Alright.
So next card is Quill. This is a 2-cost basic action with 1 diamond threshold. It reads, target troop gets defensive. Very simple card, 2-cost action that prevents the card from attacking. It's not for all decks. You likely will be playing this from the reserves more often than not, but this is a cool card to have access to. And it's a 2-cost action, so we will see in the future more in Sapphire and Ruby, a lot of troops and cards that care about action being played, and this might just be one of them.
Alright, sweet art as well. So next up is Radiant Physician. Somebody photoshopped a face into that, so we'll wait for the real art, but no, that's a lie. It's actually an what is it? Vanity card from someone. So Radiant Physician, human cleric 2/2. When you play a constant, this gets +1/+1 at the start of your turn. If you control 3 or more constants with different names, draw a card and gain 3 health. So this guy is the centerpiece of the diamond or 5 threshold or what have you constant decks. Like, I think this guy is really pushed 2 for 2/2, and then an ability that basically makes him big, and then on top of that the ability to make you draw cards and gain health. So I think if we see a constructed chant deck or constructed constant deck, this guy will be played for sure. What do you think, Charles?
Most definitely. I think this is a guy that you're not like slamming him first pick, but you're probably seeing this guy and realizing that this may be one of your few chances in the format to draft the chant deck and going with it. What really interests me about this card is there a deck out there where I can play my value constants like Solitary Exile and like Soul Marble and get some more stuff out there to where this guy is just a 2/2 that can keep getting bigger and then also happens to draw me a card later in the game. I think that's where I'm really excited to see if there's some deck that can be built that doesn't push the linear all the way that it has to, but still manages to find value out of this card.
And we already have so many good, constants in the game before set for in Blood Diamond archetype. We have Pact of Pain, Exile, Marble. There's a lot of stuff, and we've seen so far a few of them, and the next card will be one of them as well. So the fact that it gains health and draw a card is so good. That's
Yep.
definitely a centerpiece for deck in constructed.
Yep. All right. Next card.
Oh, awesome. This is my baby. Rally of Kings. 3-cost constant, double diamond, rare. It has Empower, and it has troops you control have +1/+1. And this is a card that I think I have been harping that Hex needed since the beginning of set 1. In that this is what enables a lot of decks to exist. There are a lot of decks that want to flood the board with troops, but when you're talking about dealing with a lot of the sweepers that we've had in various forms, you don't have a lot of ways to put that pressure out without really overextending yourself. What Rally of Kings does, and again you can read about this next week, what Rally of Kings really does is it first off gives you a pseudo sort of speed where you change what the battlefield looks like because your troops have gotten bigger, you change what your attacks look like, and you're hitting your opponent harder for a lot more damage. And at the same token, it reduces the risk that you're putting out there, because if your opponent happens to have one of those sweepers, now you have something that at least gives you more value as the game keeps going on. And I think this card is amazing at the 3 cost, and then it is just crazy value if you happen to get late in the game and can slam this on the table for 6 and suddenly give +2/+2.
Yep. All right. Sweet card. Any more comments, Philip? Or?
Constructed All-Star will see this card in Diamond decks for a long time.
Yep. Sweet card. Right.
All right.
Yep. Righteous Hair, Philip.
Next one, Righteous Hair. 4-cost double diamond threshold, troop, human cleric, 3/3, steadfast. When this enters play, revert and transform target opposing necrotic into a phantom. Gain control of that troop. So really, this is a Necrotic 8 troop. We already seen that there's a strong Necrotic team in this set, so it might come more useful more often. It might be useful more often than one might think at first glance. But really, it's just a 4-cost 3/3 steadfast. So I'm not sure that you really want to play a 4-cost 3/3 steadfast in your standard, limited deck, if in your common limited deck. But if you have access to this in your reserves and you're playing against a necrotic, then it becomes a 4-cost 3/3 that produces a 1/1 flyer. That starts to be very good for a card. So we'll definitely be playing these in Diamond. I think that more often than not, these will be played from the reserves, though.
Yep. I'm gonna be sad if it hits your high Infinitrix.
I mean, that's who the Righteous Heir is targeting.
Yep. Alright, 2-cost Risen Lancer, another 2-cost 3/1 vanilla. So I don't see this being played at all, limited or constructed. Well, limited. I mean, a 3/1 for 2. I've played them before, the Arena Brawler, but yeah, Necrotic doesn't have any ability like when it comes into play. When a Necrotic comes into play, do this or this. So I guess high Infinitrix if you have her, and this is your only Necrotic, go play it. But basically a filler card to smooth out your curve. But most of the time
You're spending too much time on this Dark Souls 3 screenshot that has no flavor text.
I mean, I don't know. Next. Next.
Another card, Shield Bash, that probably doesn't need too much talk. It's another 1-cost. It's a 1-cost diamond, quick action. It has Empower. Target troop gets +1/+2 this turn. And I think we already touched upon the ability of 1-cost tricks. The cool thing about Shield Bash is that you can make it for 2-cost if you need to have that little additional boost. And +2/+4 is something that normally is going to be relevant enough to change combat. So I actually happen to like this card quite a bit.
Yeah, on the combat trick scale, this would be on the top of the scale, right? This would be one of the better ones.
It's one of the better ones. I wouldn't say it's the best thing ever, but yeah, it's one of the better ones.
Yep. Alright, next one.
Next one is Soul Slaver. Is a 2-cost double diamond threshold troop necrotic warlock, a 2/2 with steadfast, and if you gain health this turn, you can exhaust it and create a phantom and put it into play. So now we're talking. Now this is one of the better payouts for the life gain matter deck. Being able to create a phantom every turn with the constant that we've seen previously is fantastic. This one even has steadfast, so it can attack and then create a phantom early in the game, and later in the game it will just create more phantom until your opponent just dies from all these things flying around. So very strong card, a very good reason to go into either the health matter deck or the flight deck, and from what we're seeing so far, they might just be the same deck. I don't know if you guys see this one in constructed. I think that there's a lot of text on it that I like for constructed, but with double diamond threshold, I'm not sure.
The problem is if you gained health this turn. Otherwise, I could have seen it like, let's say if it would be if a troop entered play this turn, you can tap him and create a phantom. Then I mean, obviously he would be played in the diamond aggro deck instead of a 2/1 lifelink steadfast, obviously. But if you gained health this turn, I don't know. I don't think so. But if there's a good troop with lifelink, for example, a 1 cost 1 or whatever, like
I think Hex Entertainment has been pushing us every set to play Adamantium Scrivener more and more.
Yeah,
and we have to be getting close to the tipping point
like
where
Adamantium
we're going to have to play these Scrivener decks.
Could be, especially if you have 2 of these guys out, then they can enable each other. Yeah.
And we have a champion with Guzog, right? Like Guzog, that will be able to every other turn provide a life gain effect. So even if you're activating this guy every other turn, it's still a great troop to be playing on turn 2. So.
True, but you most likely want to play this on just mono diamond, I think. This seems like an aggro card, and then you want to be on the mono diamond train, and then Adamant Scrivener makes more sense. But there needs to be another one.
This is probably a good place also to bring up the Incantation of Righteousness as a card that's been underplayed because it hasn't really had the other supporting cast around it. And this is another card that I think pays you off enough for health gain that we might finally start seeing those Incantation of Righteousness decks making some sort of splash.
Yep. That guy in the back looks really sad with his chain around his neck. Alright, let's move on. Spirit Hall. It's a 3-cost quick action. Ready target troop. It gets +1/+1 this turn. And Prophecy. The next troop in your deck gets +1/+1 and steadfast. So it's a combat trick. Plus that it pumps the next guy in your team. So I think I will play 1 or 2 of these. I guess 1 maybe. No, I will play, if I have these, I will play 1 in my limited decks. Constructed, most likely not, unless there is going to be a deck where you want to find one of your 2/2s that will come into a few cards. But I think limited, yeah, it's fine card. It's a combat trick, really expensive combat trick, but the Prophecy makes it actually good. And also because the combat trick also readies your troop, it makes it even more dangerous, because you can alpha strike and they think, oh okay, I can hit them as well with my troop, and then you ready your big troop and kill them with it. So I think it's a fine card, but more of a filler than something to get excited of. Alright, on to the next one.
Speaking of Prophecy, the Starlight Pathfinder. A 3-cost single diamond threshold 2/2 is a Coyote Rogue at rare. It has Swift Strike, and then the important part though is that at the start of your turn, if this is prophesied and in your deck, reveal this. then put this into your hand. So I think that this card has two kind of applications. First of all, if you're in just kind of a random deck with some for constructed, if you're in a deck with just kind of some prophecy triggers, and we'll see a Sapphire one that's pretty strong here in a minute, and you're playing Kyodel anyway, and you just happen to play this as a value play, there's probably some use in that. The other place this can get totally absurd is if this is the only troop in your deck, and so anything that happens, say, an action to prophecy a troop, this becomes the only prophecy target, and then immediately comes to your hand. There's a lot of interesting applications there, especially when you start talking about things like, say, Replicator's Gambit, where you can start getting just some insane combos and insane cards off of those.
Yep.
So I think that this card has some applications where it can see play.
Yeah, and we didn't see it yet, but in this set there's a card that prophesies a troop to draw a card. So you play this one, you draw a card, it dies, it goes into your graveyard. Say you're playing Winter Moon, you get it back into your deck. Next turn you draw it again, you play it again to draw a card, and it can just snowball.
Yeah.
The question, of course, is that good enough? Is
It's
it good
cute.
enough to have
It's cute.
7 2/2s or whatever? Against some decks that'll be fine. Against others that may not do the trick.
I mean, even if everything fails, you will have a card that in PvE you can get a lot of fun out. I'm entirely sure that this is going to be insane in PvE, but yeah, PvP. I don't know. I mean, you have, of course, if this is your only troop in the deck, then even with you don't even have to play actions. You can use the champion ability of that one guy, and then play a replicator gambit on it, as you said. But yeah,
There are ways.
you're doing a lot of cute, dirtly things, but in the end, is it enough to win a game? Is what I'm wondering.
It's
That'll be the question.
also good to mention that we have a good amount of troop generated by action in the game. So while you might be playing this as the only actual troop in your deck, you might be playing a lot of cards that create troops on the board.
Yeah, for example, rhinos.
All right, so the next one would be Stern Infinitor. It is a 3-cost 1/9 threshold troop, Necrotic Mage. It is a 2/1. It has 2 powers: Shift 1 Flight and Shift 1 Swift Strike. I like this one for limited a lot. 2/1 flyer for 3 is in the realm of things that you might be okay to be playing with in the average limited deck. And the fact that you can provide flight and or Swift Strike to another troop of your choosing seems to be very strong. We already seen a few troops that when they either gain Swift Strike or Flight, they become very decent threats. And I think that this one will be one of the nice, troop that you'll be including in your average diamond deck, and you'll be generally happy to playing it.
Yep, agreed. All right, next card. So, talking about diamond aggro. The Totem of Lanupor is a 1-cost 2/1. So we've seen that before on the in set 2. We had a 2/1 with an relevant ability. So it only being a 2/1 for 1 doesn't mean it's constructed playable. And the ability it has is 3 Prophecy. The next troop in your deck gets one of the following random: +1/+1, Flight, Life Drain, Steadfast, or Swift Strike. I think because of Rally of Kings this might be playable, especially because it's a 1/2/1. So
Yep, that's the thing.
that's, I think, might be enough to make it constructible playable. I think the prophecy effect, I'm not really huge fan of it. I mean, if you're flooded or whatever, it can be beneficial. But I'm not, as said, I think most of the times you're like, whatever stands on there, it's a 1/2/1, and I slam Rally of Kings and I'll just beat face with it. And besides that, it's a fine card, and in limited the prophecy might be more relevant than in constructed. Alright, any more comments? Nope, just the one for 2-1. Good. Charles.
Next up, we have Totem Trap. It is a 1-cost, single diamond threshold quick action. Deal 3 damage to target attacking or blocking troop. And I happen to think this one is probably constructed playable as well. I think this is a really sweet effect, getting that damage.
Yep.
Very strong card. No condition on it besides attack.
Well, the condition is you can't kill a Vampire King with this. But that's kind of been the running theme for a lot of this diamond removal, is that much of it has been conditional, like Meek and Pride's Fall. And the big upside to Totem Trap over those is that it only costs 1, and 1 is super easy to fit into a lot of curves.
Yep.
And for limited, you're taking this card a whole lot, because this is probably going to kill something relevant almost every time.
Yep.
And at the very least, in constructed, this is a reserves card, a very good reserves card against aggressive decks.
Yeah, and in constructed, they will double think about blocking your 2/2s if you attack with 1 for Aventio. Alright, next one.
Next one is Venerable Mystic. It's a 1-cost diamond, 1 diamond threshold troop, Coyotal Warlock. It is a 1/2. It has a power, a text that reads, 1, sacrifice this, destroy target constant. We've seen a lot of constants so far, and we're only 2 shards deep into the review, so I believe that this card will be a fine card to have in the reserves on some matchups. I don't think this is main deck and limited. For constructed, I think that we have better options to destroy constants, even in diamond, but for limited, I mean, it's a reserves card. Nothing much to add, unless you guys think that it warrants some more discussion. Next one, then. Kroan, you're on mute.
I am indeed.
Okay.
Alright, so next up, the Whirlwind Scout, a 3-cost 2/2 Coyote Ranger. It has flight, and Coyote Allegiant, when this enters play, gain 3 health. So 3 2/2 flight, that's actually pretty on the curve, so decent troop. And on the upside, it has gained 3 health. Again, I've played many Pegasus Scouts, or Pegasus, whatever their names, it's the 2 ones that gain 3 health. So I think this is a fine card for limited. Constructed is obviously unplayable, but in limited I would pick this around 6th, 7th pick, and sometimes higher if you're in the gain health deck matters. So fine card, not much to say about that. Next up.
I guess the other sweet one. Awesome.
Yep.
This is William Rowan. He is a 2-cost double diamond, although it's double diamond, not double D's. 3/2 human warrior unique troop. When William Rowan enters play, create Rowan and put her into your deck. When William Rowan attacks, if you control Rowan, troops you control get +1/+1 this turn. Otherwise, move each Rowan in your deck up 5 spaces. If the top card of your deck is a Rowan, put her into play. So what this card is doing is, do you have Rowan to show? We should probably show that real quick.
I have.
So Rowan is a 3-cost double diamond. This won't matter very much. Mostly Rowan is a 5/5 steadfast swift trike that gives William Rowan swift trike, and this deals double damage.
Yep.
So this is an insane combination that is probably going to win you the game should you ever happen to actually hit Rowan off of William Rowan. Now, how often is that going to happen? Well, in constructed, you're probably looking at about 10% on your first swing or so, up to maybe 15-ish% per swing if you really start getting in there and you've moved Rome up a lot of spaces. So not very often you're going to get this effect, but when it does happen, it's going to be a lot like chaining your Fintio off of the first activation, where it's just devastating to the opponent. And even at the worst case, William Rowan's a 3/2 that happens to be a 2 cost.
Yep.
Like, this card is just upside on upside on upside. This is what makes the diamond aggressive decks.
Yeah. And even if he dies, you have a 5/5 that's for 3 in your deck that you will draw eventually.
Yeah, if you ever happen to actually draw Rowan.
Yeah.
It still is just a 3 cost 5/5 steadfast swift strike.
Yeah.
And that makes, if you draw another William Rowan, it gives that one swift strike and this deals double damage.
Indeed. So, yep. Another diamond legendary that's a chase card. So if you compare those two legendaries with the ones in blood, I think diamond wins out by a large margin, right?
Yeah, it's absurd.
Diamond is on the top of the list for high value cards, high chase cards,
I
for
mean,
sure.
It's, on the other hand, it's also one of the lesser played shards at the moment, so I kind of see why they pushed diamond instead of blood, which have seen a lot of play lately. So, and especially aggro diamond, we've never seen any real contender for that. Alright, so that's, I think, all diamond cards. Yep.
That's diamond.
Alright, and it's 12:30 around here. So I think we'll wrap it up. It's been awesome to have you guys, two guys on. We'll make a new...
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think...
And thanks to everybody that was listening. We're
Yeah.
glad you all could participate.
Yeah,
Yep,
I'm
thank you very much,
surprised
guys.
that we had so many live listeners. So that is awesome. A lot of good discussion going on in the chat as well. I've tried to read up on it a couple of times, but sorry that we didn't go into questions. We have to pick up the pace a bit because the plan was to review all cards on one night. Well, as you might have
I
noticed,
think
that
that was
happen.
wishful thinking.
Yeah. So we'll have to reschedule for a second part. But I think the diamond we did at a good pace, so we should be able to do the rest of the cards next time. So thank you, Philip and Wurtil, for joining, and thanks everyone for being here with us doing the review. And good night, and see you.
One last thing, Kroan.
Oh.
Where can they find said announcements about when we're going to continue our set review?
On the Twitter 5Charts Twitter or on Kroan Twitter. So as you can see on the screen, it's twitter.com/5charts. There will be an announcement, or you can follow me. It's Kroan NL on Twitter, or Wurtil, or CoachFliperon, because I'm kind of sure that you guys going to retweet it, right?
Of course.
Alright, awesome. So, thanks again, and good night.
Good night, guys. Well, good evening or good afternoon for whoever's on different time zones, and really appreciate it to be on the review. Can't wait to follow up on the next chart, which would be, I believe the next one is Ruby.
Ruby, yes, correct. So,
Lots of interesting stuff in Ruby.
Yep. Alright.
Dancy's Macabre.
Night, night.